want to give my bit on Steve Jobs' resignation. I know that I've had lots of requests for this, but I had to sit down, collect my thoughts, try to give the best opinion that I could. So, I've heard all kinds of stories from don't worry to imminent collapse to internal quibbling that it's like another forcing of Steve Jobs out, or the market has done something where Steve Jobs just doesn't want to deal with it anymore, and all this other stuff. I mean, there are tons and tons of conspiracy theories. I hold that, and I wish Steve Jobs many more years of good health. I just want to say that. And it's so nice to look forward to CEOs who've stepped down outside of the bubble, because don't they usually always like make the best quotes and things. They just have like a different perspective, especially when you have such admiration for a person that when they're stepped out of their role and that they were very good at, and you get to hear them speak afterwards. I think has a tremendous amount of value. And no matter your opinion, I have the greatest admiration for Jobs, and he has brought many things. And believe me, I have many technological vids of where technology comes from. I don't care who creates technology, but we can't argue that in many things that Apple has done has made the market respond. Like, take the iPad, just the most recent. There are companies that fired their CEOs because they couldn't market their tablets, or there was a dispute to make tablets and things like that. I mean, it's ridiculous how much the market has responded to many things that Apple has done, regardless of where the technology has come from, regardless of who has done it first, what have you. That cannot be disputed. So, yes, I'm shocked that the resignation came as soon as it did. To me, it's indication of sadly, his health deteriorating. And again, I just wish him many years, and maybe I would rather have one of the conspiracy theories out there that it's something else. It's some sort of dispute rather than it be health issues. I first want to say that Apple's not going to collapse overnight. There's none of this, I'm not of that. But I am very concerned. I don't share the optimism of everybody else. I don't think Cook is the right CEO. I have many reasons, and I'm going to go into them. The way, for instance, let me get some of the safeguards out that people are saying. Apple University. I'm going to touch on that. And then, Jobs is going to be the chairman. He's still an employee. Well, still is Steve Wozniak an employee. Let's put it this way, guys. You're resting your hope in something that Steve Jobs is much more involved than what the position dictates of chairman of the board. If that's the case, the resignation wouldn't take place. We have to understand the logic of that the resignation took place, and that is significant in itself. There really is no saving grace that he remains on the board or something, because for the hopes that I'm seeing and saying, he's going to be here and can do this, X, Y, and Z, if that were the case, then what was the point of resignation? The point is the way that Jobs, that I understand him to be, that there wouldn't be a point of resignation unless there was something serious, that something else needed to be addressed, meaning that he's not going to have the supervision that everybody else is hoping for. I'm sorry. I can't logically come to the same assumption of saying, well, don't worry, Jobs is going to be just as much involved, as in diminishing that the resignation is not something significant because it's just something that you can transition from a CEO to chairman of the board and all is well. No, there's something significant for the resignation, and you have to come to terms with that. Or in other words, there wouldn't be any reason for the resignation. End of story. So, that's out of the way. The way that Apple is set up is so unique in that it's a great culture that you have articles that have gone over that and people interviewed and the Apple culture, what is it? And to me, it's very job-centric. It's something that I learned about Jobs and admired. I used to argue about licensing out OS X. It was something that I learned in that the Jobs of the late 1980s would argue vehemently with the Jobs of the early 90s, and then that Jobs would argue vehemently with the Jobs of the late 90s, and then of the 2000s, mid 2000s, and late 2000s. And that's what I'm getting at. There is no real person that can replace that central position where things and the intuitiveness, the predictions, and the drive to focus can be replaced. And Cook is not that person. Cook is a great person in what he does, and it's more than just being a bean counter, but he's operations, but he doesn't have that intuition. And it scares me to have people say, well, we're just going to do the same, or we're going to do something that we're going to be as much like Steve Jobs. Because what that is that it's their perception of Steve Jobs. And I think Steve Jobs himself his gift is that he can change with the tides and then have the intuitiveness and the prediction to go on a swing. And then all of a sudden, like one day just say, we're not doing this, we're doing this, and then make all the resources do that. That's the gift that Jobs has. Cook is the safest bet. And all of this about being the chairman of the board and Cook being there is really to stabilize stock prices. It's to keep investors happy, because investors want stability most of the time. When you're investing something, you want stability, well, then you have to play the deltas. And investors also like to play the deltas. But when people are invested in your stock, they want something that is stable, that they have a direction that they can count on and feel confident in investing. And so that's the safe bet. To say that Jobs is a chairman of the board and to say that Cook is the new CEO is the safe bet. It's the least common denominator. But that's not what Apple needs. Long term, I'm talking about long term, because I'm not talking about like imminent, there's doom. It's just based on history. And we as human beings, no matter how much professionalism you have, you'd say, oh, well, they're the professionals, they know. But how often do we always say, oh, we witness history repeating itself, regardless of the professionals in power at the time? Okay? Apple has a tremendous amount of cash. You know, the headlines of Bloomberg saying $52 billion erased from Steve Jobs' resignation speaks volumes of what the man did. And while the stock has bounced back, we can't just arbitrarily brush it away and just say, this least common denominator is going to carry Apple into the future. No. Apple has the cash now. Find that risky CEO. Find that personality. Apple needs that person, and I believe there's other Steve Jobs out there. And what I mean by saying they have the cash now is that the risks can now pay off while you have the cash. Don't play the safe bet and let it chip away year after year. Not to say you can't succeed, but in my opinion, that's what makes Apple tick, right? All these risks that they take and whether they're calculated, of course, it's still nonetheless a risk. What I'm getting at is if you play the safe bet in the least common denominator over the years, then you chip away at the capital you have now. And then when it comes time to say, oh man, now we need to start taking risks because we're detecting that we may be in trouble. That's when it's too late. So that's what I'm saying. Do it now. Apple's got tons of cash to do really whatever the hell they want, essentially, and have that guy get whoever the CEO is or her bounce off of Cook and maintain that balance of well, these are the visions and these are the logistics of how to deliver those visions. So then people are going to say, well, oh, there's Jobs University. Please, man, as good as it may sound, no amount of education and no amount of university can teach somebody the skills to have intuition and on the whim emotional to feel the way the tides of the consumer is going to be. You can't teach the people the personality of Jobs. You can't teach them what drives and what exists in Jobs' head to say, we're stopping all this right now and we're focusing on this. That can't be educated. You can educate all the logistics of how business should be run and inventory models, and if XYZ happens, you have all these matrices. But please, people, really, you want to count on some university as something to replace a job-centric mentality, that gift? It's a contradiction to say that there's such talent in jobs and put so much weight in saying, yes, this is jobs, and then all of a sudden retract and say, well, there's just a university to back it up. No. As much as you'd like to have faith in that, no. I mean, I believe that the university is good for many underpinnings in the culture of many operational day-to-day things of Apple, but not the heartbeat. So yes, I am concerned about that. I can't make the same logical conclusions that others do. Of course, it's not a memorial. I'm not saying it's a memorial service. It's the end of things, but clearly there is a logical decision that there is a resignation, and that resignation means he's not going to be the day-to-day things that people would hope him to be. I'm sorry. It's like I said before. If that were the case, then there wouldn't need to be a resignation. So with all the fantastic things that Jobs has and the products that we have today, because of him and his teams and everybody else who has developed it, I do worry. So no, I'm not simply going to wash it aside that, okay, there's a good enough team in place. No. Many times there's a reason why we have leaders. There's a reason why we have a captain and not just a team of second-in-commands. There's a reason why there is leadership, and as much hope as we have, you can't dismiss the way things are. So that's my bid on things in the way that I see them. So I conclude again to say I wish Steve Jobs many more years of health, and look forward to see some of the fantastic quotes and insights that we will come to see in the future now that he's no longer at the helm of Apple. I just look forward to those things. I find that there's just such wisdom that comes out when somebody is able to step down from the reins, from where they've previously been. So thanks for watching.